Take a look at President-elect Obama today as he announced Hillary Clinton. He had a little bit of tussle here with a reporter, mild-mannered compared to this, though. Let's watch.
You were asked and talked about the qualifications of your nominee for Secretary of State, and you belittled her travels around the world, equating it to having teas with foreign leaders, and your new White House counsel said that her resume was grossly exaggerated when it came to foreign policy.
Look, I think this is fun for the press to try to stir up whatever quotes were generated during the course of the campaign. No, I understand, and you're having fun. If you look at the statements that Hillary Clinton and I have made outside of the heat of a campaign, we share a view.
Christopher and Joe, what do you make of his commitment, his renewed commitment today, President-elect Obama, to removing our combat troops from Iraq in 16 months? Christopher.
Well, he's been rescued by the Iraqi parliament. I mean, he's probably the luckiest politician one's ever seen since Kennedy in any case, but the real luck is that the Iraqis are demanding roughly what he's been asking for a long time, which is a deadline and a date certain. The actual date doesn't matter once you start talking about that. Can I just add, though, that I thought Obama's answer just there was incredibly cheap and evasive. I mean, he was right the first time to say this woman doesn't in fact have any foreign policy experience, and he could have added, which also came up in the campaign, that the experience she has claimed, such as in Bosnia, was fake, was fabricated. And he could also have added that she, like his other nominee for the Attorney Generalship, main qualification in politics is being a friend of Mark Rich, which I don't think is change.
Well, why do you think he made this?
It's a ridiculous thing to say. How is that a main qualification?
Well, you make it sound like he's not got his head together. Why would he make this appointment the most profound appointment so far?
The best known decision, the best known thing Mr. Holder ever did as a government lawyer, shall we just say, and the biggest intervention in foreign policy made by Mrs. Clinton were both to try and get this crook off, in exchange for favors we don't even want to think about.
Well, we don't know what they are,
I think that's a ridiculous thing.
It's not change. Call it what you like. It's not change. It's a reminder of the more sordid elements of the Clinton era, which was not an era of foreign policy triumph.
What's the sordid or any motive behind this appointment, then, Christopher?
I didn't say this is a sordidly motivated.
Well, what is it?
I just think it's very disappointing for those who were hoping for a foreign policy change.
What's the motive?
If you wanted to see a foreign policy change, you should consensual, I suppose. It's party unity, that sort of thing. Probably a gesture to now that no doubt is involved, and so forth. Nonetheless, it's a terrible missed opportunity. Susan Rice would have made a very good appointment, Secretary of State, and you'd have known where she stood. A person who's always approached foreign policy as a matter of principle, who doesn't carry any baggage, who hasn't been a servant of special interests, is given a relatively unimportant job. It's a major job, of course. And
it's a major job.
That's good.
It's a major job. Susan's a terrific person. She's a friend of mine.
Hillary Clinton is not qualified in any way to be Secretary of State, and
Joan,
she doesn't have any interest but herself and her husband.
Joan, did you find it interesting a couple of decisions the president made were sort of modifying his decision to name Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, the senator from New York? He fenced off the role of UN ambassador. Susan Rice now has a reporting relationship directly to him, the becoming president, not to her. Both cabinet secretaries. What's that about?
Right.
Why do you think he did that? And why did he give Greg Craig the job as White House counsel, where he would be completely fenced off from foreign policy? It seems like he segregated the people who agreed with him in the campaign from the one he opposed in the campaign, Senator Clinton.
I'm not sure I see it exactly that way. It may play out that way, Chris. I mean, let's remember, I believe the UN secretary was a cabinet appointment under Clinton. I think he wants to send a message to the world, more important than domestic policy, that this woman speaks for him and that he wants her to play an active role in his administration and in the world. I don't see it as much as separating her from Hillary Clinton. I am sure there were hard feelings during the campaign. I have a lot of mutual friends on both sides. I know Susan. It was, you know, for Clinton people to leave Hillary Clinton and go with Barack Obama was hard, but I would imagine that if Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton can patch this up, I mean, that, portends great things for democracy in the world, that these two people can learn to get along. I'm sure Susan and Hillary Clinton have already had conversations, and that this will be a fine relationship. These are people who basically share value.
Do you think Samantha Power has a role?
Christopher.
Yes, she's
Power
back.
was-
I mean, she's back in the transition team, and so Hillary Clinton reportedly signed off on that. I think these, problems are enormous, and we need the best team of people, and that's what's guiding Barack Obama, and that's what I find impressive.
Christopher, I want to go back to your point that this is a political move by Barack Obama naming Senator Clinton to be Secretary of State apart from foreign policy. He must know, and you all know, certainly Joe knows, and you and I, Christopher, know that we're facing a bad couple of years of economic history coming at us, maybe a lot more than 2 bad years. Not just a deep recession, but a prolonged, perhaps something approaching a depression. It could be. Does he need the Democratic Party united to weather that storm? Because he's going to get hit like hell by the conservatives and the Republicans within about 3 months.
Well, whatever the answer to that question may be, it still divides us as between those of us who think that a job must be found for Hillary Clinton, that the country would be somehow disgraced if she wasn't in an important position, and those of us who could do without her. And neither answer to that question is going to make any difference at all to the way the market performs.
But that
However,
second group is a very small group. It's a group of
it
eccentric
doesn't
Clinton haters who've made a career out of trashing the Clintons. It's a small group. It's not an important group in American domestic or foreign policy.
Which group are you talking
and I
about?
don't think that the group of people who would rather see Hillary Clinton off the world stage. I don't think Barack Obama was thinking about that at all, because that group of people is eccentric. They are devoted to looking at everything the Clintons do in the worst possible light, and he's trying to solve problems. And to you, Chris, I don't think it was done with domestic politics. And I'm sorry, I'm talking to Chris.
Well,
it's
no,
tough
I'm
here, Christopher. I did call you Christopher.
Look, I'm looking at the 18 million people that voted for her, and I'm thinking that if he's looking at Lincoln as a role model, he clearly is looking at bringing in that constituency, not just Senator Clinton or former President Clinton, but the 18 million
Chris,
working people that voted for him. I'm just thinking he might be a politician. That's not enough.
Quite honestly, he brought them in. No, and I know you don't mean it as a knock at all, but he brought those people in on November 4th. For all that you and I spent a year talking every week about what was going to happen to those Clinton voters, and even I had some weeks where I worried about it, the fact is he brought those people in. He's not worried about that. I genuinely think if he's got an eye toward politics, it's global politics, and he wants the strength of the Clinton name, the Clinton brand.
Well, that's what the Secretary. That's what the Secretary of State. That's what the Secretary of State is for. And what you want as President is to know your Secretary of State spends all her time working to make sure that your policies stick. With this woman, that can't be said. She's always thinking first about herself, second about her husband.
What about her
I
husband?
trust
the former
Barack
president?
Obama's opinion more than yours.
Christopher, last question here.
That's never changed. That's never changed, and it's never going to. So he won't have.
That's your opinion,
nor will
Christopher.
anyone. Well, guess what? Guess who's saying it? That's a very clever thing to say. Shall I ask? Would you prefer I uttered your opinion? What a fatuous remark.
Christopher, let me ask you, Christopher. Let's raise this for a
Obama's
last.
opinion. Barack Obama is the supremely qualified person here.
I want
Opinion matters.
Those of us who care about foreign
Christopher
policy
and Joan,
will
I want to
never
ask
be
one
able to relax.
objective
Chris.
question which does not have any values attached to it. Will Bill Clinton, with his popularity in South Asia, be brought in as an envoy with regard to Kashmir and the general dispute between Pakistan and India? Christopher, will he be used in that regard, the former president?
Someone whose main clientele is the Wahhabi royal family of Saudi Arabia, who've paid for the people who just blew up Bombay, I don't think would be an ideal mediator, no, but that's just my opinion, as Miss Walsh would say.
Joan?
Christopher, you can call me Joan. I've had dinner at your house. That seems condescending to call me Miss Walsh. You know, Chris,
If I'd said Joan, you'd have said I was being condescending.
Oh, come on.
Hardly, not at all. We've had drinks together. Chris, I think it's not a great idea to bring President Clinton in right now. I think Barack Obama needs to make some big moves of his own on foreign policy, and I think Secretary of State designate Hillary Clinton needs to make some moves of her own. I am of the opinion, I'm not a Clinton hater. I respect the former president. I'd like to see him find a quiet role for himself and let these two new world leaders emerge without his shadow. So I would, if anybody asks my opinion, and it's only my opinion, I would advise against it.
Well, I think we've covered every area of concern and happiness about this appointment tonight. Thank you very much, Christopher Hitchens, for helping me explore all possibilities. And you too, Joan. You complement each other in terms of American thought on this appointment. Coming up.